Hello everybody, TapScreen Gaming here, and today we've got a sneak peek on the future officers. So far we've got two immortal officers, at least on my server. It'd be Guan Yu Demon right here, and Lu Bu Demon. But there are several more that they're going to be releasing periodically, and today we're going to cover them. So let's check them out. So first off, we've got Immortal Zhang. His buff's going to be 15% after entering battle, and then I believe he has the same skills as the regular one. But these martial souls are where it makes the difference on these mortal characters. So martial soul 1, if the enemy general is unable to act due to paralysis, his health equal to 160% of Huang Zhong's attack will be deducted. Number 2 is the indirect damage deduction from paralysis is increased to 200%. And paralyzed enemies receive an increase at 30% pursuit damage and skill damage. Number 3 is when receiving direct damage, there's a 22% chance of adding paralysis to the attacker, which lasts for 1 round. Number 4 is when receiving direct damage, the chance of being paralyzed is increased to 32%. If the enemy is released from paralysis due to an attack, it will receive an additional 15% of his own life limit as indirect damage. Bosses can take up to 400% of Huang Zhong's attack. And the last one is the indirect damage caused by paralysis and inability to move increases as the number of combat rounds increases, increasing by 10% each round up to a maximum of 300%. When paralysis disappears, there's a 50% chance to add this effect to a random enemy again. This effect can be triggered 2 times per round. So it looks like he's really good at CCing the enemy team. Next we've got Immortal Zhang Fei. It's got the same buff, HP plus 15%. Again, the same skills as the regular one. And the martial souls, he's immune to all controls. Every time he gets a debuff effect, 30% of it will be devoured and converted into 5% defense for himself, which lasts for 2 rounds. It can be triggered 3 times a round. Seems like this guy's going to be a tank character. After being attacked, the enemy will enter a state of fear which lasts 2 rounds and cannot be resisted or dispelled. Usually those cannot be resisted or dispelled are really good in these games. The critical hit res is reduced by 60, and the final damage dealt to Zhang Fei by the enemy who enters fear is reduced by 10%. Number 3, when Zhang Fei receives damage, 50% chance of causing the enemy to enter fear. Final damage dealt to him is reduced by 20. Every time he receives damage from a fearful enemy, 30% of the damage done to him will restore 1 point of rage. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but... Number 4 is appearance inspires the whole audience. Everyone receives a 30% critical hit damage bonus. That's pretty good. And pursuit counterattack damage is increased by 25% for 3 rounds. When a teammate dies, he triggers the effect of taunt, and all enemy attacks prioritize him. Lasts for 1 round. And the last one's the number of rounds of unyielding is increased to 2 rounds. And you'll counterattack the enemy every time he receives fatal damage during the period of unyielding. The same enemy can be counterattacked up to 3 times in each round. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of exchanging of basic attacks there. Now we've got Immortal Sun Ce. Bonus of 15% when entering battle for attack. Sun Ce is defeated for the first time, survive with 1 HP, and cast a skill once to obtain level 20 True Fire. When Sun Ce is first defeated, all the debuff effects are removed, and after death, all damage caused by the skill is converted to his own life. Number 3, True Fire, increases up to level 60, recovers 4 rage upon obtaining level 20, increases by 2 levels each time the enemy receives burn. When pursuing an armed chase unit, Sun Ce True Fire 1 level increase. That's written really weirdly. Number 4 is increased to a maximum of 80 levels. Each time he receives direct damage, acquires 1 level. Every 10 levels are required, the final damage of Sun Ce's skill is increased by 10%. And the last one increases up to 100. After reaching stage 50, critical damage increases by 30. Skill Chase is cast at least once. After receiving stage 100, critical damage increases by 50%. When casting a skill, Skill Chase is triggered at least twice. Next we got Immortal Zhaoyun, 15% attack bonus. Martial Soul 1, after each action, add 1 layer of Dragon Breath to yourself. Each layer increases critical hit rate and hit rate by 6% up to 20 layers. 120% crit rate, that's insane. A total of 5 layers will be added to all enemies. Breathing Field, obtain shield and reduce healing effect by 40, lasts for 3 rounds. So he buffs the enemy team, it looks like. Gives them Dragon Breath as well. Based off of this description anyway, that doesn't sound too good at all. Number 2, at the beginning of the battle, gains 2 layers of Dragon Breath, increases critical hit and hit effects by 10%. Dragon Breath Field reduces healing and shield effects to 60%. Maybe Dragon Breath for him buffs him and Dragon Breath for the enemy team debuffs them, unless I'm reading this wrong here. Every time the target's life drops below 1%, his final damage will increase by 1.5%. When the target's health is lower than 40, he will release this one single target basic attack on it. It can be released up to 1 time in the same unit in each battle. That's not too great right there. The level of Dragon Breath obtained at the beginning of the battle increases to 5%. The duration of Dragon Breath field is increased to 6 turns. For every 1% of the target's health dropped, he gains final damage increases by 2%. That's pretty nice. If a unit dies on the field, he'll gain 1 layer of Dragon Breath. Attack and defense will be increased by 10% each, and 10% of maximum health will be restored. That's pretty good. When the target's health is lower than 40%, he'll be strengthened to release it once at no cost. Physical skills can be released up to 1 time in the same unit in each battle. Next up, we got Immortal Zhao Huo / Zhaoyun. I don't know why it says that. It's not the same character as Zhaoyun. I thought it might just be a different version of him, but he's got different skills, so we'll go over those skills as well. He's got a 15% attack buff on entering battle. Basic attack is 57% damage. Type 2 is attacks all enemies, causing 70% damage. 30% chance to release the skill again, which can be triggered up to 3 times in a round. That's pretty crazy. For each enemy hero in the fire state, the chance increases by 5%. So it sounds like he's gonna synergize with the Wu faction pretty well. Just all these different buffs there. 9 stars, each time the enemy receives damage caused by fire. Zhao Huo will increase 1 layer of real fire status. Each layer increases damage by 2.5%. The upper limit's 50 layers and cannot be cleared. That's pretty crazy. Fame 1 star, gain 10 layers of true fire at the beginning of the round. Every time he reaches 10 layers, the critical hit rate plus 15%. 20 layers, life will be restored to 100%. Triggered 2 times the battle. Fame 3 star, after releasing the skill, if there's a fire state on the target, the state will be detonated and damage will be deducted once, and the corresponding non-dispellable fire state will be applied again, lasting for 2 rounds. Divinity 1 star increases all fire damage by 25%. The enemy's attack detonated by the skill is reduced by 12%, lasting 2 rounds. Martial Soul 1, after he's knocked back for the first time, it will not die and retain 1 HP. So that's invincible if he's about to die. It will release a skill once and then gain 20 layers of true fire, which the 20 layers will heal him to 100%, and that's pretty good. After Zhao Huo is knocked back for the first time, I think by knocked back they mean downed, like killed, but he survives with 1 HP from the first Martial Soul. All negative effects on himself will be cleared, and then damage caused by the death skill is converted into blood and restores to itself. But for the third one, the upper limit of true fire is increased to 60 layers. Every 20 layers are obtained, restore 4 points of anger, or rage I'm assuming. Every time the enemy receives fire damage, the number of true fire layers are increased by 2. Each time there's a person in the team, when the generals pursue him, he increases by 1 layer of true fire. Sounds a lot like Sun Ce's kit that we just read. Upper limit of true fire is increased to 80 layers. Each time he receives damage, he'll gain 1 layer. Every 10 layers acquired, the final damage increases by 10%. And the last one's the upper limit is increased to 100 layers. After reaching 50, the critical hit damage is increased by 30. Skill can be released to pursue at least once. After reaching 100 layers, the critical hit damage is increased by 50, and each skill is released to trigger at least 2-second skill pursuit. So he attacks at least twice after the first attack. If that makes sense based on what we're reading. Next, of course, they got a Wukong character here. 15% attack buff. Attacks a single enemy, causing 100% damage. Attacks all enemies, 90% physical damage. After using the skills, a 40% chance to pursue again. Release the skill with 60% of the original damage. It can be triggered up to 2 times in a round. 40% chance to attack again, that's pretty good. Always got all his regular buffs. 9 stars after taking action, increases your rage by 2 points. Can be triggered up to 2 times in a round, because you can attack more than once in a round. Fame 1 star, in the first round, his critical hit rate increases by 100%. That's wild. 3 stars, when the skill's released again, the damage will be increased from 60 to 90. And Divinity 1 star, skill pursuit probability is increased to 70%. So he's most likely going to attack twice in the first round with a 100% crit rate. Pretty high DPS it sounds like. Martial Soul 1, after he uses skill, increases on attack and defense by 5% up to 10 times, lasting for 2 rounds. At the same time, he adds 1 layer of non-dispellable Devil Monkey. For every 2 layers accumulated, the next time he releases the skill, the number of layers will not be increased, and the final damage will be increased by an additional 60%. The number of magic monkey layers will be cleared after the attack ends. Every time the layers of Devil Monkey are cleared, he increases himself by 20% of the final damage bonus, and final damage reduction can't be dispelled and can be superimposed and lasts for 2 rounds, so it can stack. After each teammate takes action, Wukong has a 40% chance of triggering a skill pursuit. Each teammate can trigger it up to 2 times, and the round pursuit limit is shared with the basic skill pursuit. Number 4 is after a teammate takes action, his chance of triggering a skill pursuit increases to 65%, and the number of additional pursuits in the round is increased to 3 times. It's not like this guy's going to be attacking all the time. And the last one's after 2 layers of Magic Monkey, the next skill attack ignores the enemy's invincible shield and unyielding state. That sounds huge. There's a meta right now for invincible shields, and a lot of people are having a lot of trouble with it. If the enemy is not in the invincible shield and unyielding state, the additional final damage will be increased to 120%. This guy's just a machine. So next one's Immortal Zhao Huo. Same skills as the regular one. And his martial soul is, after the skill, add 3 layers of non-dispellable stargazing to all allies, recover percent of the stargazing layer's maximum health after each attack, and gain an additional 1 point of rage, times 15% of the layer number. Each general can recover up to 2 points per round, reduced by 1 layer after attack, up to 6 layers. After general attack, stargazing will no longer be reduced by 1 layer, but will be converted into 1 layer of knowledge earth that cannot be dispelled. Each layer provides 5% normal attack damage reduction and 5% pursuit damage reduction, with a maximum of 6 layers. The maximum number of layers of stargazing and knowledgeable earth has been increased to 8, and each layer of knowledgeable earth effect provides 5% blood sucking effect to generals, so that would be lifesteal. Each conversion has a 30% chance of adding a layer of magic shield with a maximum of 2 stacks. Now I'm pretty sure magic shield is that skill that prevents any status effects from being applied. Number 4 is at the beginning of battle, 2 layers of stargazing and 2 layers of knowledgeable earth will be added to the whole group. On releasing skills, each layer of stargazing and knowledgeable earth that overflows will add a shield of 5% of max health to the generals, and the shield cannot be dispelled, but it can be broken. And the last one, every 6 times stargazing in the team is converted into knowledgeable earth, command to the army will be triggered. All generals on the team will launch a basic attack pursuit in order of position, can't regenerate rage, and can be triggered up to 1 time per round. This guy seems a little complicated. Now we've got the IMT version of Huato. HP 15% after entering battle. Martial Soul, number 1. After the skill, 40% of the target's max health, Glazed Light, shield cannot be dispelled, is applied, which lasts for 2 rounds. During the duration of the shield, when the general still has the shield after being damaged, the shield will be refreshed and the quality will be increased by 10%. Max health, max bonus increased to 100%. When the damage is received after refreshing 10 times, the shield effect will be cleared directly. When your own general has Glazed Light, he will be damaged by 50%, which will reduce the final damage of this attack by 30. So I guess if he takes more than 50% health damage in 1 shot, then the final damage is reduced by 30. The basic shield value is increased to 50%, and the shield has the Glazed Light reflective damage effect. 20% of damage received is reflected to the attacker and to 1 random enemy. In the first 4 rounds, when your own general has the Glazed Light state, each time he gets a negative state, he'll gain 1 layer of armor. 20% of max health cannot be dispelled, can be stacked. That's pretty good. I guess that would be a shield. And each general will gain 1 layer of armor every time he gets a negative state, triggered up to 3 times per round, lasting 1 round. So you can really stack those shields up. The basic shield value is increased to 60%, the probability of triggering damage reduction is increased to 70%, and the final damage reduction is increased from 30% to 50%. Your own generals will directly obtain the Glazed Light effect when they appear on the stage, including the start of the battle and resurrection. Each general can trigger up to 3 times in each battle. And I think we'll leave it off there for today, and I'll do a part 2 since this has been going on for quite a while. If you're excited for these new characters, talk about them in the comments below, and thanks for watching. See ya.